If you're still breastfeeding past your child's first birthday and you've had comments about this from a mother-in-law, from a friend, or even just like a person on the street saying, why are you doing that? Why are you feeding your toddler? Trust me, I have been there. Or if you felt like a societal pressure or like a shame that you maybe should stop soon because maybe they're getting too big, well, maybe this video might help you. Because trust me, the science is much more interesting than the cultural noise that you probably hear about it every day. I'm Joanna, I am a mum to two, a 2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old. I am breastfeeding both of them still. I'm covering a mini series just basically covering in hopefully short videos, research, academic papers to try and become a better parent. That's my goal. I'm still feeding both of them. Sometimes I'll have one on each side, and I know that that is very not the norm, and there's not much information about it out there, so I'm hoping that I can shed some light today. So let's start off with the official guidance. So the World Health Organization does recommend that breastfeeding along with foods should be up until 2 years old and beyond. That is the global health body's advice on breastfeeding for nutrition and for immunological effects. In the UK, the NHS recommends breastfeeding for exclusively for 6 months and then introducing foods and then stopping whenever the mum and the baby want to. There's no upper age limit in the UK. There's no upper age limit in the World Health Organization. You need to be giving milk, formula, something to your child until 1 year old. So after their first birthday, is it just not helpful anymore? Let's have a look. Research published in the Maternal and Child Nutrition journal found that breast milk in the 2nd year of life continues to provide meaningful nutrition. Studies found it remains a significant source of protein, fat and key vitamins such as vitamin A and B12. And I am a vegan, so B12 is very important for my children. A study analysing the composition of breast milk beyond 12 months found that fat and energy actually increases compared to earlier lactation stage. This is largely because you've now got a mobile and active toddler, so it basically becomes much more concentrated. It also provides immunological components like secretory IgA, which is an antibody to protect mucosal surfaces like the gut and respiratory tract. That is a mouthful, let me tell you. And this is particularly relevant in toddlerhood when they're out and about meeting, they're at a playgroup, they're at a nursery, like they are picking up so many new pathogens, and breast milk basically buffers the your response in their bodies. So the immune and health evidence. On the immune side, the evidence is very consistent. A Cochrane review and multiple large-scale studies have found associations between long-term breastfeeding and reduced rates of respiratory illnesses, gastrointestinal illnesses and ear infections in toddlers. A large Norwegian study found that children breastfed beyond 12 months had far fewer episodes of illness in their 2nd year of life compared to those who had weaned earlier, and this is after controlling for social and economic factors like nursery and all these sorts of things. I also want to look at the gut microbiome. Human breast milk contains compounds called oligosaccharides, HMOs for short. They're basically complex sugars that the baby cannot digest themselves. Their primary function appears to feed specific gut bacteria, particularly the bifidobacterium series, and this is a prebiotic. I remember when my first baby had reflux and I was thinking about should I be giving him prebiotics. My midwife said no, because breast milk is a prebiotic. It feeds that gut bacteria. The presence of these HMOs does not disappear over time, it just changes. So it's still very helpful for a toddler or from a newborn baby. Why does this matter? Well, we know that the gut microbiome has far-reaching effects on health and also mental health, influencing immune development, inflammatory responses, and emerging evidence even links the early microbiome to metabolic and neurological outcomes in later life. A 2020 study in Cell found that breastfed babies showed meaningfully different bacterial profiles compared to those who had weaned. And the longer that a child breastfed, the higher the population of those bifidobacterium species. The long-term health implications of this are still being studied. There's still a lot of work to be done, but we know that the direction that the evidence is taking is consistent, that breast milk continues to actively shape the gut environment, not just in infancy, but into toddlerhood and beyond. So it's very fast-paced and exciting area of research. Now let's look at the psychological and attachment evidence. Sometimes you see people saying the mum is selfish, it's going to make their child weird, they're going to have a weird view of bodies and all sorts. Let's look at the evidence about this. It does get a bit more nuanced here because research on the emotional and psychological outcomes is much harder to isolate because there are so many factors. Breastfeeding beyond 1 year is associated with secure attachment. But researchers are careful to note that this is likely bidirectional. Securely attached dyads, meaning mum and baby, may be more likely to continue breastfeeding, and breastfeeding may also reinforce attachment issues and attachment behaviours. So a mum that likes breastfeeding and really enjoys it and has a good relationship with their child, much more likely to continue. So it chicken or the egg. What research does continually show is that child-led weaning, allowing the child to stop when they want, is not associated with dependence or delayed independence, which is what people often think is, are they going to just be too attached to their mum? A review in Breastfeeding Medicine found that no evidence with extended breastfeeding created any emotional issues in children. In the interest of balance, as I said, a lot of these things are very hard to isolate as individual factors in themselves. A lot of these things are bidirectional and there's a lot of factors at play, so it can be quite hard to research. But what we can confidently say is that there are a plethora of immunological and health outcomes and also psychological outcomes as well with positive attachment. And therefore, the World Health Organization and the NHS guidelines do reflect that. So what can we take away from this? Well, if you're feeding a toddler and you want to continue, then science supports that you do it. What is important is that we as people are educated about this so that we can stop shaming other people if we disagree with it or find it weird, that we know that actually it can be really beneficial for people. Well, it is beneficial. The evidence is clear that there is no point at which breast milk becomes nutritionally worthless or emotionally or psychologically harmful. So what matters is that you and your child are happy, and if anyone has any judgments, then they frankly don't know any better. I'll link all the research in the description below. If you like this video, please do let me know. What is your experience with breastfeeding, extended breastfeeding? I'd love to know in the comments. And I am going to go and get my 2 babies up, whap them out. I hope you like this. I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye.